Happy All Hallows Eve. It is a very windy day today, so I invite you now to hear these words of the Lord from Revelation chapter 7. Then one of the elders asked me, "These in the white robes, who are they, and where did they come from?" I answered, "Sir, you know." And he said, "These are they who have come out of the great tribulation. They have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Therefore, they are before the throne of God and serve him day and night in his temple. And he who sits on the throne will spread his tent over them. Never again will they hunger. Never again will they thirst. The sun will not beat down upon them, nor any scorching heat. For the Lamb at the center of the throne will be their shepherd. He will lead them to springs of living water, and God will wipe away every tear from their eyes." In the 5th century, the Celts of Ireland believed that October 31st, the night of October 31st, was when the veil that separated the land of the dead and the land of the living, they believed that was the night when the veil was the thinnest. So they paid homage to the God of the dead that night because they believed that on the night of October 31st, that the God of the dead would spring forth all of the people who have died from the prior year. And not every soul that died in the previous year was good and holy. See, the God of the dead would do this so that they would have one last fling on earth, one last night to just do whatever they wanted. And if you're an evil soul, maybe it's to take revenge against people who had wronged you. Maybe you just wanted to hunt people for kicks or to scare people. And so on the night of the 31st, the Celts of Ireland in the 5th century, they would all huddle together and they would create these big, elaborate bonfires, and they would all circle around it because they believed that the light would protect them from these evil spirits who were trying to haunt them on their one last night on earth. And that is how we got Halloween. Halloween started not as a fun holiday. It started actually as a night of fear, as a night of terror. And then the Christian church came along and said, we're going to change this night into something different. We're going to put All Saints Day right after it to make sure people know that we don't have to have fear on this night. Our fear turns into joy the next morning. It's a way of sort of combating that superstition. Now, do you believe in ghosts? It's okay if you do. A lot of people do, even a lot of Christians do. But I think an important question tonight, as we have fun and put on costumes and pass out candy and watch scary movies, is, are ghosts actually biblical, or are they theological? Now, there's a particular verse that people point to, Christians who believe in ghosts, they'll say, well, if you look at 1 Kings chapter 28, there's the ghost of Samuel. So King Saul had lost his favor with God, and he was toward the end of his life but didn't know it. He saw this great Philistine army on the horizon, and he felt a lot of fear. And so he got a medium to conjure up the soul of Samuel. That's how it reads, but it's not really true at all. Samuel comes through the medium and says, hey, look, Saul, you're going to die tomorrow. You're going to die by the sword. Tough nuggets. But Samuel wasn't actually a ghost. Samuel was in the land of the dead. This medium just had a little window into that land. So that doesn't really work out. And that's really the only verse that's remotely close to justifying ghosts being on earth. Then, of course, there's Matthew chapter 14, where Christ walks in water and the disciples believe that he's a ghost. Actually, there were a lot of superstitions in the ancient world. Every town, every little village had their own sort of superstition about what evil presence was lurking. On the Sea of Galilee, where the disciples were, they believed that at the bottom of the Sea of Galilee, at the deepest point, it was actually a portal to the realm of the dead, but like an evil portal where all the evil spirits would come, and so people would never die at the deepest point because they were afraid that one of those evil hands would come and grab them by the leg and pull them down. They were incredibly superstitious. So Christ, he's walking on water, and he's cutting through that superstition. He's saying, I'm not a ghost. This is me. I am the realest thing there ever was. I'm what's real. And then in Revelation 7, you have this beautiful verse, and it paints this wonderful picture of all the saints, all those who have died and believe they're covered under God's tabernacling presence, which is really kind of a fancy way of saying that those who are in God's presence are protected. Or another way to say it is, God is our bonfire. God is the bonfire that we huddle around, and when we're next to that bonfire, we are protected. And so in truth, Christians, both biblically and theologically, we do not believe in ghosts. There's no foundation for that. The idea of ghosts kind of mainly comes from superstition. And so when we die, we believe it, and this is where our belief gets really tangled up in superstition. And I think we have this old sort of Platonic belief that we can only live eternally unless we're a spirit, because our bodies are material and our bodies never last. And so we have to be a spirit to live forever, but that's not true. Christians believe in the sanctity of the body. When Christ was resurrected, it was a bodily resurrection. The Apostle Paul talks about us having spiritual bodies. It's a body, but kind of a spiritual kind of body. So we're not like ghosts, where the bottom half of us sort of, tails off like Casper the Ghost, right? We're not this translucent figure. We're not this bright floating orb. We have a body. We are bodily resurrected. So for the saints who have died and gone on before us, not only do they have bodies, but they don't come back and haunt us, because they're under God's tabernacling presence. They're with God. And so the best way I've heard it put, and tomorrow is All Saints Day, it comes from my homiletics professor, Dr. Ritter from Divinity School. He said this. He said, the saints in heaven, it's like the alumni who come back for homecoming. I know there's a lot of schools that have homecoming this weekend. He says it's like the alumni who come back for that high school or college homecoming football game, and they sit in the stands and they cheer on the team that's on the field. They don't get on the field because they've graduated. They're not playing in the game. They don't get on the field, but they're above us, and they're watching, and they're rooting for us. And it's a reminder that there's more to life after graduation, right? People say that the high school, college years are the best years of our lives. Well, that's not true, okay? I think most of us know that's not true. And the alumni coming back reminds us that there's more to life after this, a lot more to life. But also, they're rooting for us so hard. They're cheering for us so hard. They're like the 12th man at the game. And they're just doing their best to try to turn the tide of battle. That's what the saints are. When we think about those who have died before us, we don't have to worry about them haunting us or being these creepy, translucent spirits. They're there in body, and they're rooting for us. They want what's best for us. And so tonight, as we put on our costumes and we watch scary movies and we pass out candy, I want us to remember that this is a fun day. It's a fun night. This is actually one of the funnest nights of the year, in my view. But it's fun because we don't have to worry about things that go up in the night. It's fun because we have a bonfire that burns eternally. God's tabernacling presence is over us and protecting us, and we don't have to worry about those things anymore. God is our bonfire. Praise be to God. Amen.
Firstborn over all creation, far beyond imagination, all visible and invisible things